What's up, guys? Welcome back to Level Up Your Game. I'm Rip here with MYK. We're going to do our system overview. We started this in 2009. 15 years later, we're doing it again. I'm still not getting paid. But here we go. Let's talk about it, Mike. Kick back, relax, and get ready to level up your game. So not in sync, but it'll go. Let's go. Let's talk about it. So first up, let's talk about the notation of the game. So in Tekken, there's left punch, left kick, and right kick. But we just call those by 1, 2, 3, and 4 because it doesn't matter if you're playing on a PlayStation controller, an Xbox controller, or whatever, right? So 1 is left punch, 2 is right punch, 3 is left kick, and 4 is right kick. So if you see these notations online, that's what they are for the most part. I should also mention quickly that Tekken allows for button buffering. So Law has a string here, right? It's 1, 2, forward 2, 1 plus 2. So that sounded kind of crazy if you guys are new to the game, right? But the last hit is basically 2 buttons together, so it's 1 plus 2. And what you can do here is, since the string is ending here and you're ending on the 2 button, what you can do is just hold that 2 button down and then hit the 1 with that button down so you get the 1 plus 2 input. How did that sound, Mike? Was that a good explanation?
Yeah, that pretty much works out. So basically, whenever you're button buffering, you could hold the button, and then if you have a double button input or a triple button input, you could essentially just kind of shortcut yourself for getting a double button input next. So right here, I'm doing like steep up back 2. And then I'm just going to do 1 plus 2 for the guard break. So I'm just doing up back 2, hold 2, and then you could just hit 1 with it while you're still holding 2.
So let's talk about the hit regions in Tekken now. Obviously, there are high attacks, which you can duck underneath. There are low attacks, which you have to be holding down back to block, actually. But these kind of low attacks are what you want to hit if people are standing, right? So if somebody's just stand guarding against you, this is how you're going to break their defense, essentially. There are also mid attacks, right? So this covers everything, basically, standing or crouching opponents. So if you're crouching, you're going to get hit by this.
Essentially, highs and lows you could evade by or defend against by ducking. And then you'll cover both of that, but mids are there to check you from ducking.
There's also special low and special mid, which are kind of strange, right? They've actually changed a little bit, so now these down jabs are actually special lows now. Before, I think they were just special mids, I think.
I think it just makes it easier to follow because special, the down jabs, for example, you could always low parry them, and that's always been the case.
Yep. And then, of course, there are throws in this game. So throws are usually done by 1 plus 3 or 2 plus 4. And you can also break those throws, so you can always throw your jets. So that's like, if somebody's defending very heavily against you, you actually can just try to throw them to break their defense.
Yeah, but for the most part, throws are a high, so it's kind of like another high to look out for, but you can't block it.
Exactly.
But if you duck a throw, you can launch it for it.
Yes, go ahead. Boom. I was going to say there are also characters that have crouching grabs, so you got to watch out for that, but there are very few in the game in comparison to what you can see the majority of the time. So let's go ahead and talk about blocking and low parries, Mike.
All right, so blocking, for the most part, again, we kind of went over just recently, but for highs and mids, you just want to hold back. Yeah, so you'll defend against all highs and mids if you're just holding back. Tekken even has a special thing where you can neutral guard stuff, but I would recommend probably holding back to block highs and mids. Yeah, don't just rely on neutral guarding for defense, but neutral guarding does have its uses too. But defending against lows specifically, and you could also evade highs with down back. So down back will put you in crouch, but of course that's going to leave you open for big mids, and which mids are usually some of the scariest moves in the games because they might be launchers and stuff.
So one of the things that we want to talk about here is while standing attacks. In Tekken, when you're going from a crouching state to a standing state, you actually can hit a button and you can get moves out of that. It's not possible from just crouching. So here's a crouching jab, here's a standing jab. But if I do while standing one, hitting the button after I'm transitioning from crouch to standing, you get while standing attacks. So while standing 2, or here's while standing 1, while standing 2, while standing 3, while standing 4. And that's something very unique to just Tekken. This does not exist in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or anything else I think of. I think, as far as I know, it's just Tekken.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And this is basically like the easiest way that you could get damage on punishing lows when you get a low block or something. So I'm going to do like Steve's down back 3-2, and it's a risky low, and then boom. That's how you get your launcher. Just block it with down back, and then you just neutral, then 2.
Exactly. And like even if you go in for like a throw in this situation, if I'm just ducking, right? Like if I hit a crouching 2 after this, you're going to see that I'm just going to get a small punch, right? If I hit 4, nothing big. But if I actually do a while standing attack, I can actually do like a launcher with like a full while standing 2 here. So While standing attacks, very, very important to Tekken. So make sure you guys practice doing that, because it does take some timing to learn when to hit the button from your crouching state to your standing state.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just do like down back into it immediately. You have to hold down back or down forward for a smidge to actually. We call this state full crouch. So you actually have to go fully into a crouching state and then neutral, then button.
So let's talk about low parries, right? You mentioned that you can block lows by hitting down back, but also you can low parry by tapping down forward.
Yep. Boom. And in this game, they put you into a instant tornado state. So you got to kind of just use up your combo extender there instantly.
So yeah, you can basically get a mini combo off a low parry, right? But something you have to be aware of is that certain characters have weapons and you cannot low parry weapon attacks.
Yeah, and knee attacks, but we haven't seen a low knee attack in this game yet.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and talk about counter hits, Mike.
Counter hits. Okay, so Steve is a counter hit character, especially his back one. Normal hit doesn't look like anything special, but on counter hit, he gets a full combo.
Yeah, and that's pretty unique to Tekken, right? Like other fighting games, they don't really have this kind of a property where the counter drastically changes. Like usually it's like, oh, you get a couple more frames of advantage that you can do something else with it. But Tekken, you actually get huge state changes in like whether your strings are launches or not.
Exactly, yeah. So like Steve's back one is a prime example. And then, yeah, he has other examples too. Like normally down forward 2 only does that. He doesn't get anything for free. But on counter hit, he gets, guaranteed follow-ups.
Exactly. So counter is very, very important in this game. Let's talk about strings, though, because strings are one of those things in Tekken where it's kind of a differentiator, right? Like when you have like Street Fighter, for example, there are target combos, which are similar to strings. Mortal Kombat has a lot of strings as well. But, let's just cover it for the most part so people understand where we're coming from here.
All right, so for strings, it's basically you're not doing a single hit move. So strings are something that has like a follow-up, something like a 1-2, 2-1, 1-2, 1-2. So strings, for the most part, they're gonna have their uses, and there's a couple different things about strings that you have to keep in mind. Stuff that will make strings useful, for example, like for Steve's jab punish is a 1-1-2. So this whole string is actually all a natural combo. And then
so
strings might have
some. First hit, you get hit by the rest of it, basically. There you go. So, by the way, key charges give you counter hits on the next hit.
Yeah, key charge state, it gives you a counter hit when your hands are glowing, and it also makes you so that you can't block. But for the next point is counter hit combos. So 1-2-1 normally isn't a natural combo on counter hit, but on counter hit, the whole thing is guaranteed. And there are a couple strings like this in the game. Like we have Law with the 1-1-1.
Jesus Louise. Boo! Man, it's a heat engager.
Yeah,
but that is not guaranteed on regular hit. You can actually block that third hit still. So this natural combo and string, this is a concept that is pretty unique. Like, the strings in Mortal Kombat, they don't really do this in the same way.
Right. This is probably a very Tekken unique thing, but yeah, some strings can have differences like that, where they change up if the whole thing is guaranteed or not, if it's a counter hit. But there's also like other things you have to look out for. Strings can have like mix-ups and whatnot. You have stuff with like strings with lows in it that you have to keep track of, and then they can mix it up by trying to go with a mid. So there's a couple things you got to look out for when in Tekken. But for the most part, the more you play the game, and the more you recognize when a string is happening, you can kind of figure out how to defend against him.
Exactly. Like, and for Law, just really quick, I'll show you a couple of quick string mix-ups. Obviously, he has a Junkyard combo. It's been in there since Tekken 3. It's mid, low, mid. The second and third low, though, you can low pair. You can get a combo for it, right? So, also, if the second hit counter hits, you actually get a launcher for it, too. Right? So, that kind of shows you the strings plus the properties of the counter hit in the strings and how that can be different. So Tekken and strings kind of be called and considered a knowledge check game because of this. But the more you play it, the more you learn, basically.
Yeah, and of course there's certain things that you could some strings have delays in them too, so you could get like real tricky with it. And this all kind of plays into the whole gameplay of Tekken.
So we talked about strings, we talked about counter hits. We showed throws, but let's talk about how you can break the throws.
All right, for throws, generic throws for the most part, you got your 1+3s and 2+4s. These ones you could break with 1 or 2, but you probably want to keep in mind that there are moves that are command throws. So you have stuff like this. Steve's course will go back 2+4, which is a true 2-break command throw. So basically for this one, you have to break it with the 2 button. Otherwise, generic throws you could break with 1 or 2. The best way to keep track of it is that 1 break throw, the left arm will be going out farther. And then the 2 break throw, the right arm will be going out farther. And then this is kind of like a universal change in Tekken 8, where a lot of characters, or I think most of them, if not all, have a 1+2 throw with their up forward 1+2 now. And then you guys can see that this one, both the arms go out equally. So this one will be a 1+2 break. Both hands to break it.
Yeah, and interesting there, I buffered the throw break, so I'm actually holding the 2 button down, and when he throws it, I'm just hitting 1 with it. So you actually can buffer the throw break on 1+2s.
Yeah, and if it's an actual 2, you could just press 2 again while you're still holding it. So just let go, press 2 to get the other throw break. So there's like general idea of how you want to defend against throws. But yeah, like we said earlier too, throws are high for the most part, but this is something that your opponent can't block against, so it's another way to open them up.
Exactly, and I really think that people should focus on the command grab breaking aspect, because the rest of it, generic grabs, where you're just kind of guessing, it's either going to be 1+2 or not 1+2 essentially, right? But if you learn to break it by seeing which arms are forward, you're basically going to be able to break all of the grabs in the game.
Yeah. Exactly. So you definitely want to break it the traditional way, because you're not going to be able to tell if it's a regular throw or a command throw sometimes. So always just look at the arms. It's something you can improve on by just like maybe 10 minutes a day.
Yep. So let's move on though, right? Because obviously Tekken's a 3D fighter, right? There are side steps, but let's talk about homing moves, Mike.
Yeah, homing moves, every character has at least one. There might have a couple actually, but homing moves are moves that have this giant white streak attached to it. So there's a lot of effects going on in Tekken 8, but then this specific effect on a move with that streak means that it is true tracking to both sides. Yeah, so he's trying to sidestep left there, gets hit. Sidestep right there, he also gets hit.
So certain moves, they only track certain directions in Tekken, right? So when you have the homing move, it's kind of your option to see like, hey, my opponent keeps on trying to sidestep me. How do I keep him in place? What move can I guarantee will kind of find where he's at in this 360 3D space? And that's what you use it for, essentially.
Right, exactly. And then characters have different ones, of course. Sometimes they'll be high, sometimes they'll be mid, and sometimes they could even be low. So it all depends on your character.
Speaking of lows, their homing attacks. Law's Dragon Tail's now a low homing attack.
Yep. So yeah, keep that in mind if you guys need to stop steppers. But there are other moves to keep people in check in case they step. So that's the beauty of Tekken, right? 3D game. You can move step left, side step right, sidewalk left, sidewalk right. And yeah, that's what kind of opens up the whole wheel of options for you.
Yeah, we'll talk about movement options and sidestepping in a second, but let's also talk about power crushes, right? Because this is something that was introduced in Tekken 7, but it was kind of new to the series, and they're still around here in Tekken 8. They're pretty important.
Yeah, power crushes are an armored attack that will blow through anything that your opponent does, as long as it's not a throw or a low.
Yeah, so get a jab before you do, Mike, so I know when to try to.
I'll do back one into it. So.
Okay, I got it.
Boom, and as soon as you see a move get absorbed, it'll have that effect too with that little zoom in. Yeah, so it'll blow through any highs or mids, but yeah, for lows and throws, you could definitely stop them from power crushing with that.
Man, I can't even throw you out of this one. Cheating. There it is.
There we go.
In general, too, with this game, there's also recoverable health now, right? So if you do your power crush again, you can see Steve actually has recoverable health there now, right? He saw it there on his life bar for a second. So he can still regenerate that health. We'll cover regenerative health a little bit later on. All right, so let's talk about rage mode. So this is something that was added in Tekken 7. You can see the activation point on Steve's life bar. It's a little line that goes through his health bar there. As soon as your health drops to that point, that's when you can activate rage mode. Your bar's gonna start flashing like Laws is up there, and basically this means you do more damage, right? Like what's the actual multiplier? Do we actually know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think every game is different.
Yeah, so my damage right here on this move is gonna be 15 damage, right? And if we turn on rage, same move is now going to be 16 damage. So it looks like a 10% boost.
Yeah, 110. Yep,
yeah,
10% right there.
So there you go. So it's a small damage boost to all your attacks, but it also gives you access to your Rage Art, right? So this Rage Art is going to be kind of a comeback mechanic in a way, right? It's not unblockable or anything, but it's the super cinematic attack. It does a ton of damage at the end of your combos. It also scales the amount of damage it does based on how little life you have. So when your life bar is very close to nothing, it's going to do more damage than if you had it right at the rage activation point or higher, since you can sometimes recover your health in this game.
Yeah, exactly. But keep in mind that Rage Arts do have an armor property just like Power Crush. So let's see. Try to do a sequence, like maybe 1, 2, 3 Rage Art.
Sure.
Yeah,
it did
absorb the
some health
hit.
there. You see it there. He's recovering it. So yeah, it does have some armor properties with it to go through attacks. So it's a good way to kind of beat out opponents trying to stuff you at the end of the game to close you out. You're like, nope, I'm going through that. But it's also very punishable on block, so you can get punished severely if you go for this as your last-ditch effort. Boom, you're dead, right? Because you only had so low health to begin with. So yeah, got to be careful. But that's all that there is with Rage now, right? In Tekken 7, there was also Rage Drives, etc. All that is gone now. So it's just the Rage Art and the extra damage.
Yeah, 10% damage and the Rage Arts. But yeah, keep in mind, Rage Arts, they made the command universal as well. It's all down forward 1+2 now for every character. They used to have different unique commands in Tekken 7, but now it's all down forward 1+2 or Rage Art button if you have that set.
So let's move on here, right? We talked about most of the buttons and notations, some of the new properties and mechanics of the game, but let's talk about movement, because movement's a big part of Tekken, right? So in Tekken, of course, you hit forward, you walk forward, back is walk back, down back, you kind of just sitting there, down forward, your low parry, down is also just stay crouching. You can jump if you hold the up directions, but Tekken's not really a jumping game. There's no more Akuma or Geese Howard in here. You don't really have to worry about character jumping at you right now. We'll see if they add it through DLC, but jumping is very, very limited, right? It's not something you usually see out here. You can also dash in this game, though. So forward dashing, tap, tap, forward, forward. And now if you forward, hold forward, or is it triple tap? Triple tap forward now is down the run.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've changed that, right? That was something that's been made easier to do since Tekken 7.
Yeah, exactly. So you could do instant while running, and your character runs in their face now for a little bit too if you tap triple forward. So if your character has like a running move, for Steve it's running 2, Law has a running 3, you could do it a lot easier in this game instead of getting the last forward +2 perfectly like the previous games.
It was way more difficult to do in the past. And of course, that was the forward dash. There's also a back dash. And Mike, since you're Korean, I'm going to let you talk about the Korean backdash cancel, which is very famous in Tekken. But, it's definitely an advanced movement technique to help you create space.
Yeah, so basically Korean backdash is a faster way to keep moving backwards and trying to create distance and trying to like keep your opponent out in case you have the life lead, or if you just want to stall for time for a little bit. It's a very useful technique. Everybody should learn, but it's a little bit difficult. It's a little awkward. The first input is back, and then the way you want to cancel it is with down back. So it's just back, down back. And then from there you just loop back, down back. Yeah, so it's just like a motion, but this takes sometimes years to learn, or maybe 5 minutes on a hitbox. But Tekken 8's the first one ever to actually implement like a new middle ground to this backdash. Before, when you mash just back, you weren't able to move this fast backwards before. So if you guys are kind of like starting out, sometimes maybe just backdashing like this will be more beneficial. And also too, because backdash cancels have 1 frame of that down back to cancel it. If they hit you with a mid during that down back portion, you could actually get blown up for it. So maybe honestly this new right there, maybe this new backdash method might be even better for just safety wise, right? But
totally
of course for speed you might want to do it the traditional way. Either way, new player, this new backdash, you're already playing the game with everybody else. You're kind of like cutting that execution barrier to learn this backdash cancel.
Exactly. And so obviously backdash cancel is something a little bit more advanced. You can find good videos about that online already. I think FDX is a really good one on backdash canceling.
Yep.
So make sure you check him out. But as far as other character-specific movement options, there are some unique ones in Tekken that don't really apply to other games. For example, Law has a crouch dash, right? So while Law is crouching, if he hits down forward, down, back to down forward again, he'll actually do this. And he's actually crouching and dashing at the same time. And from there, he can do moves like the slide. So that's a character-specific thing. The mission was obviously, they have wave dashes. You've seen Kazuya and Heihachi, Reina, etc. They all can wave dash across screen. Yeah, what do you call that for Steve?
Duck cancels. Yeah, it's just like multiple duck cancels. So there's like a bunch of different movement techniques to like close distance, close distance and try to like utilize different moves and like different timings on your opponent. So that's kind of what make Tekken fun. People want to like backdash cancel out of there, but then you're chasing them down with like these repeated duck cancels.
Aggression,
it's like
aggression.
That's really the beauty of Tekken for me. It's just like the dance that you get to see between two players, and they're both fighting for timing and trying to get moves to land on counter hit and catching their opponent's timing with that. But then it's like, oh, they're so good at sidestepping and moving away that I can't get their timing. It's like that is Tekken.
And you mentioned the dance, Mike. Let's talk about the dance that doesn't exist in most other fighting games: the sidewalks and the sidesteps.
Yeah, so basically in Tekken, because it's a 3D fighting game, you can move in more ways than just backward and forward. So Tekken, if you want to do a sidestep, you just simply tap up or down. Of course, left or right is going to be dependent on which side you are on, because on 1P, up will be going left for a rip here, and then me doing up will be a sidestep right for Steve here. So you're already thinking like a Tekken player now. It's like, oh man, sidestep left, sidestep right. But then if I do tap down neutral, then I'll go left. But then if Rip does tap down neutral, he's actually going right because he's on a different side.
Yeah.
But then if you want to go even...
Sorry, I was just saying, when I learned, people always mention as it's like sidestep into the foreground or the background, right? Like up always takes you to the background, down always brings you to the foreground. But as Mike's calling it sidestep left and right, that's a really important concept in Tekken, because certain moves track certain ways, and people can tell you like, oh yeah, against certain characters you want to sidestep right more, or against other characters you want to sidestep left versus these stances, etc. Right? So it's really important to get used to that depending on what side you're on.
Rip brought up that example, and the Korean Tekken players actually call it a clockwise or anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. So it's basically, when you think about it, if you're going clockwise, your character is always going left, and if you're going counterclockwise, your character is always going right, no matter if they're on 1P or 2P. So that's another way you could kind of think about like how to sidestep and sidewalk. But sidewalk, we didn't really talk about it real quick. Sidestep is just tap down or up neutral. And if you want to walk in that direction, you just double tap, then hold on your second command. So if I want to sidestep down and then keep holding that, you just tap it twice and then hold it on the second input. So, and if I want to go the other way, double tap up and then hold it on the second input. Exactly. But then of course, this is riskier in higher level Tekkens if you just hold your sidewalks like this, because you can get hit out of it, even though it is more evasive. Yeah, but you can't block while you're sidewalking. So a lot of times you might just do like a quick little sidestep and try to block like that. And then you see him whiff and then whiff confirm.
Yeah, and of course, at the highest levels of the game, you're going to see sidesteps become really important. You're going to see people like stepping certain parts of strings even, and they're going to get capitalized at for a full launcher, etc. Right? So it's a huge part of the game. And again, it's something you'll learn over time. It's not something that I would like stress on very early. But like, just as a real quick tip, Mike, like when would someone try to sidestep? I feel like the when is kind of a hard question for people to answer.
So I think the easiest way to think about it for me when you're first starting off is like if you're very low minus frames, right? Tekken is going to have a lot of frame data stuff. But yeah, like see right there, after a 1-2, all 1-2s now, if your character has like a jab string like this, they're all -3 at least now, right? So -3 isn't the end of the world. -3 on block, even if they block it, boom, I'm going to try to sidestep and create a whiff. That's basically the whole idea of sidestepping, to create whiffs and get, punishes for yourself. I try to go left there, I get hit by the kick, right? So I'm like, oh, dang, I can't step that way. Boom, boom, boom. That's pretty much the idea of Tekken right there. So you do something kind of light negative on block, And then if it doesn't hit, right, you don't have frame advantage, you're at a disadvantage. But it's like you're not really fully committed to giving up your turn. There's always this another element where you can sidestep right, sidestep left. You know, there might be another way out from stopping your opponents from taking their turn.
But you know, I was gonna talk about the getting up off the ground section next, but I know it's kind of like tedious. So what I want to do, actually, we'll save that for the end. All right, it's a little bit complicated, but let's get into what makes Tekken 8 the heat system. Right, the heat system is the new thing that separates this from all the previous Tekken games. It's a major addition to the game. So let's talk about the heat system. The heat system is that blue gauge that's below your life bar, right? That is your heat gauge. You get it once per round. So every single round you're going to be able to do it, right? And basically you can activate this in one of two ways. It's either going to be via your heat burst, which is a single button now that they've given you, or it's going to be via heat engager, which is attached to certain attacks from your character, which we'll get into in just a second. But once you're in heat, basically all the attacks you do, they are going to do chip damage, right? So if you're low, like you can see Steve's health bar here, I'm just chipping him down, right? So it's recoverable, but it's also real damage if he never recovers it, right? So it's something to
if
be
you
aware
die,
of.
it's gone. You're never recovering that.
Exactly, right? So let's talk about the heat burst first, all right? Because this heat burst here, it is like an armored attack now. That's one of the big changes for it. So I'm going to do like 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do my heat burst. Look at the armor. Look at the damage I took. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is another thing about armor.
Way to get into heat. What were you saying, Mike?
Yep.
Sorry.
That is another thing about armor. Yeah, you take a lot of damage if it's like a big string that you armor through.
Exactly. So that's one way that you can activate your heat, though, and you see the heat gauge ticking down there. They've got these kind of little lights below it there that show you like the chunks of it, so you can kind of get an idea of how much of the percent of your gauge is left. But we're also talking about, you know, some of the character specific properties that come from heat as well. But Mark, let's start by talking about the heat engager, right? Because this is another way that people can get into heat.
Yeah, so heat burst, like Rip was saying, you got to keep in mind that it only gives you about like 60%, like maybe 70% of your heat timer, right? So if you can see, boom, it takes a huge chunk at the beginning of it. So you don't get as much time to play around in heat state. But the thing is, if you, oh yeah, there's also a quick little hidden one, heat burst cancels, where it doesn't actually do the hit. So it's like that's another way to activate as well. But the animation where they're doing all that pose and they're unposing, you can still get hit out of it. So it's like it's kind of like a risk sometimes if you do it in a bad time.
And even if you do the heat burst cancel, you actually still do only start off with 66% of your heat gauge bar.
Right. Boom, takes that huge chunk in the beginning. But yeah, so if you want to start with 100% of that heat gauge, you want to hit a heat engager.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
as you can
full
see there.
Gauge there, right?
Right, exactly. So you have more time to play around and do your heat stuff.
And that was some heat specific stuff you just did there, wasn't it?
Yep, yes it was. And every character is going to be a little bit different on what they do with that. And Steve right here, he gets like this clinch. Whoop. And then he gets 50-50 after the clinch. It's either a 1 or a 2 follow-up. It's going to be character specific. And then of course, if you guys keep an eye on the heat meter, it takes a little bit whenever you do a heat specific stuff right there.
Yeah, there's also a sound effect that plays, right? So it lets you know that they did something that's heat specific for the character. For Law, it's going to be like his nunchuck attacks too, right? Because these become regular hit launchers now. And you can see it's a huge chunk of his heat gauge that disappears from that unique attack. The heat engager too, really quick, one more thing about them is that your character only has a few of them, right? If you go through the move list, it'll actually show you which ones are what here. So if you actually go through, you can actually find out this is my heat system, these are my heat moves, right? And so the move list actually does a really good job explaining which ones work for your character.
Yeah, so your character might have at least 5, and your character has definitely at least 1 safe mid one. So, or sometimes more, of course, but yeah, every character has at least 1 safe mid heat engager to activate your heat with a full 100% gauge. And then you can play around with your heat specific stuff.
Yeah, and generally too, like if you land a heat engager, you also have some plus frames, right?
Yeah, exactly. So heat engagers, you're going to be when you get this big run animation, I think generally for the most part, like the universal heat engager animations like this, There's some crouch throws that are heat engagers as well, but you know those ones truly knock you down. This one, your character goes rolling. They can still wall splat from that, which we'll get into later. But yeah, that little rolling animation means that they can wall splat. Some of them they are still standing, like that the whole time. So yeah, sometimes it's a different animation, but generally heat engagers will leave you at least plus 17 on activation.
Yeah, you see it right there, minus 17 for loss. So not an opportune position for me to start swinging back if I get hit by one of those.
Right, exactly. And another the thing is, if you do anything 17 or faster, so like let's say a low, for example, if I ever activated with that, it's you can't even low parry that low. So it's like a couple things to think about with like frame data and how Tekken works, right? So I'm gonna hit him with the Sonic Bang here, mash down 1, which is 16 frames, and he can't low parry.
Wow.
I'll even do down 2, 1.
Nope.
Which is a safe low mid, by the way. So the only way you could punish Steve for doing this is to low parry.
Cheating,
but you can't do it. But you can't do it after an engager. So it's like you're already thinking about the strategies there, and then it's like, oh dang. Yeah, there's a lot of things about heat. Another thing about heat engagers is that you could actually recover a good chunk of health. I don't know how we're gonna show that here.
Yeah, we'd have to go into versus mode or something.
So yeah, like we were saying for heat engagers, it actually recovers a good chunk of your life. So if you ever have any recoverable life in your life bar, any gray life there, you could actually recover it if you land a heat engager. So right here, Rip's gonna chip me down with a couple of strings.
Okay.
Now, if I hit a heat engager here, boom, whoop, get a good chunk of life back. So yeah, that's another way to bring that life back. And anytime you get your opponent, hit your opponent or make contact, it recovers my life as well. So that's another thing to keep track of. So yeah, heat engagers definitely play into the recoverable life change that they added in Tekken 8.
Exactly, and let's just talk about the recoverable health really quick too. Because if I do something like a running 3, even when I don't have heat, you still have that recoverable health building up there, right? So now there's chip damage even without heat involved, which is a pretty big difference to this game. And again, if Steve is attacking me back here now, he can actually get some of the health back, right? If he's hitting me.
Yep.
Yeah, let's show an example of how you can recover health without using heat. So I'm going to chip you down a bit. And let's see how you get it back. Even if you're attacking, even if they're blocking the attack, you're still getting your health back here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another thing about this game. So anytime you make contact, you could even be in combos too. So Rip, try to trip me down again.
Okay.
All right, so now I'm gonna try to get Rip in a launch.
Yeah, while he's doing this combo, you can see that his health bar is actively recovering at the same time. And now I have recoverable health as well.
Yep. So that's another thing about
Duck, yeah.
Boom.
Boom. Now I got my health back too. So this is the crazy exchange of recoverable health. And these are kind of the fundamentals of how you can get it back and cause more recoverable damage to your opponent.
All right, so the next thing you could do when you actually are heat activated, so I'm activated with a heat burst here, you could heat dash any of your heat engagers. So I was activating it with Corsica forward 1 for Steve, but then if you hold forward after that move, you actually activate a heat dash. So heat dashes will change the properties of the move. Sometimes it'll become a launcher, sometimes you'll just get a knockdown and a free hit on the ground. So generally it seems like the rule of thumb is like your super fast heat engagers like Steve's Sonic Fang. Mm-hmm. If he heat dashes this, he only gets a little hit on the ground. Doesn't actually become a full-blown launcher. But then for like something else, like for Steve, like rocket launcher, if he heat dashes it,
you can get a whole combo. Wow. Hey man, stop.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about heat dash 2 is that Tekken usually has a like infinite prevention system while you're getting juggled, right? So every hit you do sends them farther and farther away. So I'll essentially do the same combo here off of a different launcher. And as you see, I can't even get 3 of these, right? But with heat dash, the pushback gets significantly reduced. So you could get much bigger combos than you normally would. So you could get real fancy with like heat dash combos. But keep in mind, heat dash adds a lot of scaling to your combos initially. So I'll engage with it, and then boom, I'll dash off of it.
This combo is so crazy.
Yeah, so you could get a lot more hits than you normally could in a combo. So sometimes the damage evens out as like a regular launcher anyways. But yeah, it basically makes your heat engagers become launchers or knockdown moves. It gives you more damage off of those when you're in heat state.
Exactly. And you know, finally the last thing you can do from the heat state when you're in heat state is the heat smash, right? And the heat smash, it's basically a way to cash in your remaining heat bar or heat gauge with a big attack. So for law, it's a mid. It's this nunchuck attack here, right? You can see the chip damage it's accruing as well, but if you get hit by it, it's also a hugely cinematic animation here. And this is pretty much the case for most characters. Some characters have low ones, though. You got to watch out for those. Those seem to be the good ones.
The low ones make it so that it's like a very easy mix-up right away, right? Just use your heat dash or a heat dash mid versus your low heat smash. And then to keep in mind though, heat burst is the same input for heat smash. So it's just 2+3 normally, or you could use the default controls and they have a button already set for you, which is going to be R1.
Yeah, and so sometimes if you're in a combo while you're in heat state, you can actually cash in by using your heat smash at the end to get a little bit of extra damage on top of that. You know, using heat for combos seems to be non-optimal, like if you're trying to activate heat in the middle, but there is a case where it can help you significantly for like your wall carry, right? Like if you get a low parry combo, you can use the heat burst to cause a bounce state and further the combo from there.
Exactly, yeah. So there's different ways you want to use heat. That's basically what we're saying. You could use it for pressure, or you could use an engager to try to recover some life. You could use it to make it turn your safe moves into launchers and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do with heat. Or you could just like, oh man, I'm Steve Fox, I just want to chip damage them after this. Cheer. Oh yeah, and also if you heat dash on block, it does a chunk of chip.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Look at the chip damage on that. It does way more than it usually does. And it also leaves your character +5. It's universally +5 if you heat dash off of anything. Which is funny because Steve's is off of running 2, right? So you're -6 here. So that means Steve is +6. But if I heat dash, is only +5. So it's kind of funny for Steve in that case.
Interesting.
But so yeah, if you use heat dash at the wall, you actually get a wall crush state. So I think at minimum you could be up to +18. It could be more the farther back they are, but minimum is like +18. So that is a huge chunk of advantage. And like I said again, with engagers being +17, anything 18 or faster there, they can't low parry if it's a low. So and since you're so plus, you can't even sidestep this mix-up if you even sidestep this mix-up even if you wanted to.
That down back 3-2 not knocking down was so funny. You just caught me off guard.
I know,
I got so confused. Oh man.
We talked about heat burst when you just use it in neutral, but heat burst, like Rip was saying with low pairs, let's just show it real quick. If you use it in a combo, it's another combo extender. It puts them into a combo state that you can still pick up from. I'm gonna have to reset because activate.
Yeah. And of course, you can only use this once per round, right?
Yeah. So it's like, do I want to use my combo here to extend and whatnot? You know, it's really up to you, and you got to consider like how much damage you're getting. Is it worth it? You know, there's a lot of things to think about, but that's what makes it interesting. It's up to you.
I was gonna say, show them the low parry combo and how you can heat burst to extend it, basically. So here's a low parry combo, right? Now heat burst extends the combo, so you can get the extra wall carry and a heat dash after. Man, all right, cool. So the idea there, of course, though, is that you can make your low parry combo, which would be shorter usually, a lot longer now because of the heat system with heat burst there.
All right, so one last thing with heat dashes, right? So there's 2 different instances, like where you use heat dashes in a combo where it will react differently. Like we talked about how it works in neutral, but when you use it in a combo, if you do heat burst into heat dash, right? So if you do this and then do a heat dash in a combo, the properties on hit will change up. So let me give you an example here. I'm gonna do a down forward one, and you notice it just hits them on the ground. So if I ever do a burst into a heat dash combo, they'll always stay grounded there. But let's say I was already in heat state. So if I get a launch and then I do a heat dash in the middle of it, when I'm in heat state, they're actually in a comboable state. So that's like the big difference.
Oh, so that's why sometimes I can do it and sometimes I couldn't. I see.
Yeah, pretty much. So
good to know.
just the only thing to keep in mind is if you ever do a burst into a heat dash in a combo, they'll be grounded.
I see.
Right? But if you do a heat, if you're already in heat state and then do a heat dash in your combo, you can still pick it up.
I see.
Oh.
So basically that was because the combos was getting really long with people getting a launcher, using the heat burst in the middle of the combo, then using the dash, right? So the way they changed that now is just say like, okay, it's only if you're in heat already and use a heat dash, then you can still get a combo and extend it.
Exactly. But I mean, you still get one more hit on the ground. So yeah, you could still use it to get like that free grounded hit, and then that grounded hit will do 50%. So some characters, it might be worth going for that grounded unskilled at 50%.
No, I definitely agree with that. So you have to figure out your options for your character. But one of the other things we didn't talk about really is the speed that the heat gauge decreases, right? I noticed it when you're doing the combo there. Is it actually stops and slows down, decreasing while you're getting hits, right? Or if they're in a juggle state.
Yeah, if they're airborne, the heat state will stay frozen, right? So I'm right there. You notice Steve's heat gauge did not stop this whole time, right?
Yeah,
so it just kind of
with both being heat, and you do the same thing again. Yeah, see, so even Laws has stopped, right?
Exactly, yeah. So as soon as you get control of your character again in any way, then your heat bar starts depleting again. So another thing to keep in mind, but if I'm the aggressor and you're just staying on the ground when my heat bar is draining, so I'm just gonna let you drop here. You'll see that Steve's heat gauge gets frozen as well until Law gets back up. So this is another thing to keep track of. It's like you can't wait on the ground forever until my heat goes away. You got to get up and play. My heat gauge is frozen right where you left off.
That is pretty wild. I didn't know about this part. This is a pretty big difference. And if I tap up here, it starts ticking down again.
Boom.
Wait, so what if I do this? Wow.
Better get up, buddy. You gotta face the damage.
Damn it. Cool. All right. So I think that's all the heat stuff. I mean, again, if you missed anything, leave it in the comments below. So let's switch gears a little bit, though, right? There's one last thing here: guard break attacks. Do we have characters that have guard breaks? Law doesn't have any. Does Steve have any? Oh gosh. Guard break. Talk to us about it, Mike.
So yeah, guard break attacks, they've always kind of existed in Tekken, but now you have that huge like window glass breaking effect to really let you know that you've been guard broken, right? So generally, if like the term implies, if you guard, it gets broken and then they get free stuff on block, or sometimes the guard break is what they want to get to get any kind of like pressure or something like that.
I could not block that follow-up.
Yeah, so Steve here, after his guard break, he gets plus 12, so he gets his new 2-2 natural combo. But yeah, keep in mind though, this is something new in Tekken 8. They added scaling now to links like this. So like taunt scaling, King's counter shove, even guard breaks too. So if you notice here, I get 19 damage, where normally 2-2 will get you 29 damage. So the scaling carries over when the guard break comes into play. So, but that's kind of like the mix up, right? Do I just keep letting him hit me with this guard break high? And it's like, I gotta duck it, right? Like, I don't want to get hit by this all day. This sucks. Even though it's only 19 damage, right? Damage is damage. Yeah, so I'm a duck now. And
Damn
then,
it.
Boom. Mix ups and stuff.
I'll block
so
next time.
yeah, so that's kind of like the idea, but of course there's probably other ways to avoid both options that people need to explore.
Well, let's switch stage and let's talk about some combos. All right, let's talk about some combos. So in Tekken, there are what we call launchers, right? So there are launcher states you can get your opponent into, and usually characters have this like safe kind of down forward 2 uppercut launcher, which knocks the opponent up to the air, or they can have some kind of counter hit property, which causes like a gut stun, and they crumple over, and you can get like this combo from that state as well. So there are different types of comboable states. But when you're putting these combos together after this launcher attack, there's a generic structure, right? So basically, you get the launcher, then you want to do some big damage at the start of your combo, right? Because these are where you're going to get the biggest hits before the scaling really kicks in, because the more hits you do in a combo, the more scaling that's going to apply to the later hits in that same combo. But as you saw there from this combo, there's kind of a structure to it, right? You get a launcher, big hits for your filler, some kind of combo extension, and then you have the ender, right? So that's the general sandwich, if you will, right? It's basically launcher, filler with damage, combo extension,
combo extender,
and then ender, right? So that's the generic combo structure. So here we have counter poison arrow, damage and screw attack, ender. I call it screw attack still, but I think that's kind of, it's not a universal thing, but I think that's very hard to differentiate the names, right? So why don't you tell us about this new name, Mike, Tornado?
The tornado. So yeah, as you saw Rip do there, in the middle of his combos, the opponent got sent upward into the air in like a tornado state. That's why it's called tornado. Every character has these to extend your combos, right? So like we said, you want to do launch, filler, tornado, ender. Very simple to kind of like keep track of, right? But yeah, tornado state previously in Tekken 6 used to be called bound. They still kind of exist in this game, like we said, with heat burst in your combos, right? So you could even extend it with 2 combo extenders.
Launcher, filler, heat burst, screw,
tornado. Ender. Yeah. So it's like you can add even second layer of combo extension on there, but yeah, it all depends, like we said, how you want to activate heat and play around that. But generally, that's pretty much how the combos are going to go. Some launchers might even be an instant tornado launcher. So like we have Steve here with his new Lionheart stance, up back 3, and then the 2 actually puts them into an instant tornado state, so that I can't use my tornado again. You can only use 1 per combo.
What's the difference between a screw from Tekken 7 and a tornado in Tekken 8?
It's pretty much the same thing, but the main difference is back to like Tekken 6 rules, where in Tekken 7 you actually weren't able to do screw at the wall. But in this game, you could still choose to save your screw. Maybe you want to just use your burst to get them there, though it does add more scaling. And then once you get them to the wall, you could try to go for your tornado here instead, right? So I'm gonna try to, I don't know if I have a combo for all that.
Yeah, we're still learning the stage distances, right? So here's a heat burst. He's gonna try to get a wall carry here, and then use this tornado at the wall, and then the wall combo, right? So basically, he could have used the tornado before we got to the wall, but he chose to use it at the wall. So that's kind of the decision making you have to use now, which I generally have always liked. It was something that was missing since Tekken 6. You know, deciding whether you want to extend your combo in the open stage and do a less damaging combo in the open to get them to the wall. You know, in the past you would use a lot of like dash jab combos. So if you just hold forward, if you'd use these combos like this, where you just add extra dash jabs just to get them closer to a wall. So you would save your bound, or in this game your tornado state, to get more damage on the wall, right? So that becomes an option again. We'll see how that fleshes out across the life of Tekken 8, because there are so many different combo paths you could take now.
Exactly, yeah, especially with heat dash and all that. But yeah, like we also said too, to briefly touch up on it again, is low parries are returned to like how it was in Tekken 6, instant bound state. So then this one, instant tornado state. So you can't use your tornado after a low parry, but you still got heat burst. So
yeah, exactly. So if Mike low parries here and he does a little combo into a heat burst, then he still gets that extension that he can find a little combo with, essentially.
Right.
Let's try one more time. Combo, heat burst, and now that's a little extension to try to get to a wall, essentially, and get more damage. So that's your one way of extending a low parry combo now in Tekken 8. So let's talk about the wall system, right? We're at a stage with walls here. Let's change this restart position to be at a wall. I'll let you actually. Opponent direction will be back. Is that how that works?
I think that was just turning backward. Yeah, you gotta do a flip side, switch positions right there.
Where is it? Okay, we're learning. There we go. All right, so let's talk to him about the wall system in this game.
Yeah, so in this game, well, in every Tekken since Tekken 4, they've added walls, right? But certain moves like this one, if you will walk forward, will just like normally cause a knockdown or a heat engager like this, right? Or a knockdown like that, right? But essentially, when you're at the wall, this becomes a wall splatting move, and you could get like further combos like this. Another thing that could also cause a wall splat other than knockdown moves is this thing called ballerina spin. So for Steve, he has flicker one, down one. As you see, Law twirls there, but he didn't get knocked down. He's still standing. But if you're close enough to the wall, you could actually see that it causes a wall splat there. And then, you know, of course, different angles will cause different types of wall splats, as we saw a sidewall there. And learning how to convert in all of those scenarios is going to be something that you're going to have to learn in this game, but it's fun.
Basically, not all attacks will wall splat the opponent, right? But certain ones do. Ballerina spins one do, knockdown ones do. Anything else?
Heat engagers that send them tumbling like that also do. And
Yes.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
And you can see, just do the wall splat by itself. You just animation where you see the opponent. That one. You can see like the animation where your back is against the wall and you just kind of like pressed up against it. You can't do anything, so you cannot defend from the state at all, right? You're just free to take more damage. So it's another launcher essentially. And you're open to do your tornado still. You're able to do your heat burst still. It's really crazy, the options here at the wall now. And there's a tornado at the wall. Tons of damage, right? So wall's very, very deadly. It's something you got to watch out for. And Tekken being a 3D game, this is where you really have to learn to sidestep block to work your way away from the wall. And positioning plays a huge factor in this game, and learning the stages and where the walls are essentially are just huge factors in whether or not you're going to be successful winning these rounds.
Yeah, it's also the fun part too, putting together these combos so that you can get like a full screen wall carry and then you get a full wall combo afterwards is definitely what makes Tekken fun.
Man, that is pretty cool. So that's the wall splats. Those are some wall combos. We showed you can do tornado at the wall as well. What else do we have to tell them about walls in this game? I think that's basically it. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what's the general rule though, Mike? You know, people always talk about this, like, how come I can't just do like a billion hits at the wall?
Basically in Tekken, the other infinite prevention system is the wall slump. The more hits you add on a wall combo, the faster and faster they'll fall off the wall. So this wall splat, as you see, they fall forward on their face, right? But then let's say I get like a high wall splat with like a launcher at the wall, then they actually slump down like that. So generally, if most wall combo states like this, the more hits you add, the faster and faster they'll end up falling down. So you can't get like an infinite combo at the wall on them.
Because they're continually falling faster and faster. But you have moves like that, right? Where they're hitting in such quick succession that you can hit more hits than you normally would be able to.
Right. But yeah, optimizing combos like that for the wall is another fun part of Tekken and the combo structure. But generally, more hits, faster they slump. But then there is one like one more variable like this, right? If you get a high splat, you get like an extra hit for free because it doesn't count towards the wall slumps yet. Yeah. So you could go for, and you could also, from the regular wall splats like this, you could go for like resplat combos. But if you mess it up, you could be messing up some potential damage for yourself, or funky stuff can happen like that.
Yeah, basically off the wall splat, you can sidestep and get the opponent to come off the wall, but you can see the axis is switching. And axis is something we didn't really talk about much, but if you sidewalk someone, you launch them, it's kind of hard sometimes, just duck, to do like your normal combo. Did you realign there? Yeah, so like the normal combo may not work in certain situations. So you gotta learn what you can do. One more time.
Yeah, as you can see, Steve starts to flip over there. Yeah, so like Rip would have had to do a tornado sooner, so that it would still work.
Like that combo
normal
would work
axis,
on axis
it would
like
work.
This, right?
Yep.
But not off axis like this.
Combos will switch up because some moves and some stuff like this will start happening. Yeah, like as you see. When he did the first back two there, Steve started flipping over because he was off axis. 3D game. 3D game.
Yeah, it's
so he would have had to do back to one immediately and just get the tornado there. And this has been part of Tekken since like forever. So, and it's also another thing to keep track of when you're playing the game. and getting launchers after a sidestep or something.
Yeah, so we showed you guys the walls. We showed you guys the wall splat, how you can possibly resplat your combos. But there's also new additions, right? There's extra stage hazards now. Tekken introduced walls as like the first stage hazard back in Tekken 4, but now we have a bunch of other ones, right? There are wall breaks, there's hard wall breaks now, there's floor breaks, hard floor breaks, balcony breaks, wall blasts, floor blasts. I hit my microphone with the blast. Let's show you some of those stages right now.
For wall breaks, any of those wall splatting moves that we covered earlier will cause a wall break. So essentially here, boom, I hit him with the course forward 1, and you can keep your combo going after that wall break. And you only need 1 hit to break regular wall break.
Yeah, and let's show him a combo that actually takes you to the wall and then breaks the wall. Boom! And you can still extend the combo after a wall break. That's the difference between like a wall splat and a wall break, right? When you break the wall, you can actually still extend your combo from it.
Right, and then you got to keep in mind only certain moves will cause a wall break in a juggle state. So it's moves that will spin them like this. I'll show you in the open. That type of twirl on that last hit from Steve there, that will break a wall. Or a move that will send them far away, like a Steve rocket launcher. Yeah, so any move that sends them far away like that, will also break a wall.
Yeah, so hold forward. So like Law is a weird one. It's like down 4-3, right? Like you can see how they fly away with that. So if I take you to a breakable wall here, and I hit down 4-3, I can actually still use my tornado after this, and still go for a full combo.
Right.
But yeah, the breakable part of the wall there was the move that knocked away far away in the combo, which is Law's low kick, high kick, which is not something that you'd really expect to break a wall, but it does.
Yeah, so those two things will break walls. Oh, exactly. And also they have this new type of float state sliding knockdown thing that will also break a wall.
I see. Interesting. So paying attention to how opponents fly away from you can kind of be an indicator of whether you can use it at the wall or not, essentially. But that is the wall break. Let's talk about the hard wall break. Let me switch the stage here real quick. Stage selection.
Bong, 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 bong.
Oh, you already know the music's coming. Sanctum is I think the one stage that has this. And you can actually see on this stage select screen, it tells you what hazards are on each stage. So you can see here Sanctum.
Violet Lee's stage has it too.
So there's hard wall break here. Is it this one?
Yeah.
Hard wall break is here too? Yeah, you're right. So yeah, you can see what kind of different stage hazards is what I'm calling them. I don't know, do we have a name for this in Tekken? I call them stage hazards.
Yeah, I think that's what they're famous. I think that's what they're actually called. Yeah, stage hazards.
Yeah, this was the rain stage we just showed you guys with wall break. But let's go to Sanctum, show you the hard wall break really quickly.
Yeah, so essentially a hard wall break is kind of the same as a regular wall break, but you need 2 hits that would break the wall to actually break it. So you could do it by the wall splat move like this, and then doing your wall break move. That's 2. The other way you could do it is like, let's say you get a wall launcher, at the wall, so you could add 2 here as well.
What? That's cheap.
Yeah. And some characters like wall carry combos, you could get the high wall splat, like Brian could get like mock punch, and then down back 1+2, and then you could break the wall that way as well. So it's like, you could get real creative with the hard wall breaks, but yeah, that's generally the rule. You need 2 hits that would break the wall to break the wall.
Yeah.
So let's say you only use 1 in a combo, you could definitely use the other one later in the combo.
Yeah, and you can see the wall
right there.
Breaks down too, right?
Yeah.
So the first time you hit it, you see some damage happen to the wall, and then the next time it actually breaks, and you get that cinematic animation.
Yeah.
And you can still extend the combo after it too.
Yeah, and the wall remembers. There's one. There isn't one. Here's another one.
Ah, the wall remembers.
The wall remembers.
All right, so that was the hard wall break. Let's talk about a floor break now. Is there a stage with a regular floor break?
Azucena stage, after the balcony. I guess we could do balcony first.
Break, yeah. All right, so the first thing we're going to show you guys here on the Ortiz Farm stage is balcony breaks.
Yeah, and just like breakable walls, you only need one hit of a wall break move to actually get a balcony break. So right here, I'm gonna just do Steve's 3-1-1, and then boom, we go downstairs, and you can still do your whole combo.
Yeah, and can you do a balcony break into the floor break on the next part, or no?
You can't do 2 stage hazard breaks in one combo. So right here, I'm gonna try to do 4-4-2, and then boom, the floor actually doesn't break, even though I went for a spike move that would normally break it. So you would have to separate the 2 hits. So there's a balcony break, boom, 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 extender, 4-4-2. I'm trying to break the floor, it doesn't break. But then if you actually get a launcher here and then I go for the spike, then it will floor break.
Exactly. And let's talk about the rules for this floor break a little bit, right? Because it's not quite the same as for the wall breaks or the hard wall breaks.
Exactly. All right, so for the floor breaks, it's kind of just like the wall breaks, but you need a move that spikes your opponent to the ground, right? So Steve has 4-4-2 here in the airborne state. Boom, smack him into the ground. And yeah, unlike in Tekken 7, the 4-4-2 in airborne state would actually do the knockover spike, as you can see right there, right? But when we get the floor break, Law's legs are still towards me. So it seems like in this game, their legs are always going to be facing you.
Yeah, that was really interesting because watch again. You guys watch the video. Look at the Law's animation of his body here.
He tries to turn around.
Yeah,
but
he does turn around almost. You know, it's like he looks like he's upside down. He straightens himself out. Pretty wild. So that was the floor break basically. Move that spike, right? So if you can use that in your combo, like try and do a little longer combo so people can see the spike part of it, right? Maybe do it after a screw attack or a tornado. Yeah. So you can see the spike part of the combo is what you're using to break the floor. And this is sort of an experimentation thing too, right? Because certain throws will also break the floor. So you got to kind of figure out which of your character's moves will actually spike in combo, which throws will do it as well. Some throws also break walls, we should have mentioned as well.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we're down here, let's talk about the wall bound. Wall bound. That's what these are called. These are not wall blasts. These are wall bounds.
So as you guys can see on the Ortiz farm stage, they actually have these skulls indicating which walls still have the wall bound property. So whenever you get a wall splat on this stage, or if they're in a juggle state, like I'll have Rip follow me here, and then I use a wall break move, then I'll wall bound them 180 off the wall. So if you use a wall break move, yeah. So if you get a wall carry combo and then use a wall break move, then it'll activate the wall bound and sending them away from the wall. So it's like, do I want to use a wall break move here to send them off the wall? Don't I want to keep them in the corner? That's, your decision to make as a player. But also as well, if you get a straight up wall splat move from here, then it's going to also take them off the wall.
Oh, interesting. So they can get a full combo though.
And then you can try to get them to the next wall.
Yeah. Can you do 2 wall bounds in one combo?
No, same rules as before. With balcony into floor break, you can only use 1 stage hazard at a time.
Dang. And now we're on this side, and as you mentioned, the skulls are still there, so you can still do it to me on this side, right? Boom! So people can be flying all around here. And you can see on this side now it's gone, right? There's no more skulls on it on this wall here. And so now it's not good. You get a regular wall splat.
Yep.
Cool. So that is the wall bound. Let's show them the wall blast now, right? So that, we showed them on this stage multiple things, right? Balcony break, we showed them floor break, and wall bound. Let's show them wall blast.
Yeah, certain walls will also have a wall blast. Much like a wall bound, if you get a splat or a wall breaking move at one of these walls, instead of sending them off the wall, you'll just gain a little bit of space away from the wall, and then you can send them back to the wall again. I'll show you here. Boom! But we're still facing the wall.
Oh my gosh. That was crazy. So that's the difference between a wall bound and a wall blast, right? Wall bound sends it over you to the other side so you can take them away from the wall. Wall blast keeps them in front of you so you can still keep your wall pressure afterwards.
Right.
All right, that was easy enough. Let's move to Floor Blast.
All right, so kind of like the floor break situation, right? Any move that spikes on the potential final round for this stage here, this is the only stage that has it. You have the floor blast. So you could do a spike here and then boom. And then go for tornado, then heat burst, and then you can keep your combo going that way.
Yeah, and from what I've noticed too, once it's used, you can see the lava kind of disappears on the floor. It's not as bright or as vibrant, right? So if we restart, you'll see the difference in the lava on the floor here now. So spike state, boom, floor blast. That is wild. That's
definitely a new one. Yeah, the hard wall break and the floor blast are definitely new ones in Tekken 8.
Yeah, let's actually show them the hard floor break. I think we didn't talk about that one either, right?
Yeah, so just like the regular floor breaks and the hard wall breaks, right? Remember hard wall breaks versus regular wall breaks? It's just that you need more hits that cause the floor break or the wall break. So I don't know how many it's actually here.
It's
There's
here,
one.
So, yep, and you can see the floor changes as well. And that's your indicator that's one away.
Boom!
And that was it. That was the hard floor break. And now on this stage is actually a regular floor break too. So you just do your same combo here, and we'll get down to the bottom level. Yeah, try and get me all the way over there. Everyone thinks this is an infinite stage, but I just want them to know that it's not. You can combo me again.
Where's the walls?
Who knows? It could be anywhere, Mike. It could be anywhere. Oh, there's red chains all of a sudden.
Oh, what?
Oh, what? Tekken 8.
Oh,
wall
it is a
combo
wall.
on an infinite stage. Amazing. I'm kidding. No, there's no infinite stages in this game. Everything has a wall, except you're probably not going to get to most of them. But that's it. That was all the stage hazards, right? We did wall break, hard wall break, floor break, hard floor break, balcony break, wall blast, wall bound, and floor blast. Blah, floor blast. It's damn tongue twisters, man. Okay. So the last thing to talk about here is actually just getting up off the floor, Mike. Just getting up off the floor. It's like the thing about Tekken that's kind of different than most of the fighting games. I actually don't know many of the fighting games that have this in there. But basically in Tekken, you don't have to get up. You can just stay down forever. Learning how to get up off the ground, it's actually something you got to take note of in this game compared to most other fighting games. But the way we talk about it in Tekken terms, we talk about the positions you're in. So right now you see Law on the screen there. He is face down, feet away. So we either talk about face being up or down and the feet being towards or away from the opponent, right? So here you see Law face down and feet away. If I'm holding down a side roll with the punch button, you'll see Law is now face up, feet away, right? So there's no way that he can actually switch this position here. Once you're in this position, these are your two options: side rolling this way or that way, and that's it, right? And then how you can actually choose to get it from there with a get up kick, you can either choose 3 or 4, right? You can do this get up kick here, or you can do this mid get up kick here. And those kicks, like they used to be counter launcher for the low one, and the mid one used to be more punishable, but they're relatively safer options now in Tekken 8, right?
Yeah, they're completely safe now. But then, of course, the low parry is a low. You can low crush it. You can low parry it. You can step both of these options. You know, there's still ways around it. So it's not always like, they're something that they can go for every time.
Exactly. And then how do we show them the other way? I don't know how to get positions. I guess you got a sidewalk around me. So in this position, Law would be...
You actually have 2 more options. Yeah, you got toe kick and spring kick.
Exactly. But in this position, this would be Law face up, feet towards, right? Or it'd be face down, feet towards. But yeah, in this position, if you hit down plus a kick button, you get this toe kick here, and you can see your character will back roll away safely. It's a little quick get off me tool if you're ever in that position. And you can also do a spring kick here. Let me, if I can get back grounded again. And if you hit both kicks together, you get that spring kick there. So that spring kick, though, it can be very punishable, right? So you do have to kind of use this, but it is a pretty good way of kind of attacking through your opponent's offense while you're grounded, attacking through their Okizeme.
Right, it's very fast. It's like weirdly evasive too. So, but of course, depending on how close you block it, the more punishable it could be. So I think at the closest, it's like 20 something.
Yeah, it's minus 19 right there, right? So that's super punishable. In Tekken, 15 is already a really bad number. That's where most characters will get a launcher on you. So minus 19 is pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. But it could be a good way to quickly get off the ground for you if your opponent's getting a little too overzealous on their Oki scenario.
Mm-hmm. And just do a combo to me really quick. And I'm not going to hit any buttons here, right? So as soon as he does this combo, you can see my character's just going to land on the floor. And whatever position I land in, that's what I'm in, right? And now from here, you can actually side roll with the punches. So if I just hit side roll by itself with no direction, Law is going to side roll into the background. But if I hold down inside and hit a button and hit the punches, he's going to side roll into the foreground. So from this position, if I hit punch, Law is going to roll upwards into the background. And we'll combo one more time really quick.
Yeah, specifically one as well. You can't do two. So you got to do one or down one.
Exactly.
So one to go into the background, down one to go into the foreground. And it's going to change your position from where you initially were. So he was face up, feet towards. Now, since he side rolled down, he's going to be face down, feet towards.
Yeah, and I should mention, you can see me mashing here on the side. Once you use a side roll, you cannot side roll again, right?
Unless you get hit on the ground here, and then you could do another one.
Yeah, but then as soon as you use that one side roll again, you cannot do anything again, right? But when he does do his grounded hit on me, I can actually mash bunch of tech roll, and I can stand up quickly. And this is usually your safest option of getting up off the ground. And you can also do this by hitting any of the 4 buttons, and you can do it even when you're getting launched, right? So while you're in a combo state, if you don't know when the combo's going to end, you just mashing here. You're just mashing all these buttons, right? As soon as you hit the ground, boom, your character's going to tech roll and stand up again. So you kind of avoid the how do I get up. You just mash it and you'll get up.
Yeah, generally the safest way to get up in Tekken is while you're getting comboed or something, you just hold back midair and then you just pick a direction. So it's like punches, you'll go into the background, and then with kicks, you'll go into the foreground.
Yeah, so I'm going to mash kicks this time here. And that's rolling into the foreground there to get up. And foreground or background, the only time you're really paying attention to this is if you're like at a certain angle to the wall and you want to make sure you roll away from it. Certain combos from certain characters, sometimes you'll want to like tech roll a certain direction to sometimes help avoid a follow-up. That's not necessarily guaranteed if you time the side tech roll right. So very, very situational occurrences for this. But for the most part, you want to use it positionally to be further away from walls.
And another quick reminder why I said to hold back and then pick a button to tech is because there are spikes, flip over spikes like this, where if you hold back, you'll be able to quickly recover from it.
Yeah,
as you can see, Law gets back on his feet like pretty quickly there.
Yeah, but if I don't hold back, show them what happens here.
Oh.
So if I'm not holding back, and I'm just mashing buttons, that's what will happen, right?
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more unsafe, essentially. But if I'm holding back, we avoid it.
Yeah, if he stayed grounded there, I could get a free grounded hit on him.
Yeah,
so it's like...
I'll just mash kicks here. Yeah. That was interesting. I didn't even get the tech roll.
Yeah, you can't tech roll because it's a flip over spike.
Yeah, so if I was mashing punches, then I would have side rolled. Mashing kicks, I get a get up kick. So damn, there you go. That's a little bit. We talked about quick back roll. We talked about tech roll. Tech roll, I think, is one of the most important. But as Mike mentioned, hold back and mash the buttons, right? That's your safest option usually to get up off the ground. Is there anything we missed in this?
There's also one more. In any scenario where you could get a tech roll, you can actually be holding forward to do a quick little kick up like that. So you could kind of get up using that option as well.
Yeah, and this kick up actually has a little bit of a hitbox on it. So if they're trying to pressure you afterward, they can actually get hit by this like that. Yeah, it's a little bit of damage. Actually, does it even do damage?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so it is a little bit of damage.
Very little.
Yeah, but it's also kind of risky, right? Because you can kind of get floated out of this too.
You could get floated out of it. You could get launched for it because it is a move that you're whipping.
Oh boy,
so,
yeah. Risky.
So it's not the safest way to get up, but it's there if you want to like mix it up sometimes. But use at your discretion.
Yeah, it's risk reward not usually in your favor, right? Like risk reward, safest option, hold back and mash tech roll. That's usually the safest way to get up in Tekken. Let's also talk about now in grounded positions, there are different ways you can actually flip your opponent over, right? So this is very specific to characters. Do you know Stevo's options?
Yeah, so any move that looks like it's kind of like hitting them to the side, will kind of like have a new way they flip him over on the ground. Like here, he's face up, face down, feet towards, then he goes flip to the other side like that. So he goes from face up to face down, or vice versa.
Exactly. And the other option, do you
And
know?
then, I don't think I have one.
Okay, well, do you have a way? Okay, so just hold forward here. So for Law, he's got two options, right? One of them is Sidestep 3, and you can see this is the same thing, right? Where it flips him face down and face up. But if I hit Dragon Tail, it does this whole thing where it flips his whole body around, right? So now his face towards, now his face is, or his feet are towards, now his feet are away. I think that's the way to do it. So not only that, it's also flipping in. So this is like, I don't know what these names are called, right? We've just been giving them names. This is I call like a pancake because it's just a simple flip, and this I've been calling a pizza because it flips around and spins them, you know. But they're I don't know how useful these are going to be in Tekken 8, but the idea here is that you have this option now, and if the opponent though is just mashing tech roll, as soon as any of these ground hits them, they will tech roll out of that position, right? So I'm gonna do a Dragon Tail here, Mike's gonna tech roll, and then you're gonna see he's just gonna get right back up. So that position I knocked him into doesn't even really matter. So there are going to be occasions at the wall in this game now where you will have to decide, do I tech roll or not? Characters like Brian or Yoshimitsu, where they have tech catches at the wall where they can hit you for tech rolling, this will be more dangerous for those kind of characters, I think. So we'll see how this fleshes out over time, I think.
And there's a couple. Yeah, no, I think you're right, because unless they find like a good setup, you could. But yeah, like we said, anytime you get a hit on the ground, you could always have tech roll re-available to you, like we just showed.
Right.
But yeah, there's a couple other things that we need to bring up too, real quick. There's two ways to get up off the ground. Basically, when you can't tech roll. Oh yeah, I have one. So like this kind of spike, you can't tech roll either, because it hits you down to the ground, so you can't tech roll there. So you have to get up in a different way. You can either do get up kicks like we just showed, or there's two other ways to get up. You could hold back, and then you'll get up doing this like crawling back animation, just like that, or you could get up by holding up.
And holding up is like that.
Yeah, so it changes how you get up off the floor. Generally, holding up is a little bit safer than holding back, because you get up off the floor quicker. But in certain instances, like let's say I have Law's back here, right, and then I spike him from the back, yeah, see right there, if he was holding back, he gets up like that. And he, back is a little bit slower in this game, even more so than Tekken 7. But if we could do a restart real quick. But if you hold up to avoid here in this position, it's pretty dangerous, because they could kind of blow you up for holding up here.
Let's try. I'm gonna hold up. Oh, danger! Danger!
So, yeah. So, like in two positions in this game, it's kind of dangerous to get up with up or back. So, as you saw there, whenever they're face up, feet away, like in this position, after this combo.
Up
So
or
his
back
face
here is
up.
scary.
Yeah, up or back here, you can get blown up for it. You can't block because you're getting up back turn. And there's also one more position if you would side roll and stay down. So it's feet up, face up, feet away, or this position, face down, feet towards. So both of these two positions, if you hold up or back, you can get blown up for it.
One other thing I want to talk about the grounded position, Mike. Sidewalk back to my head. There is something we didn't talk about in Tekken that's very unique, and it's while standing attacks.
Yeah.
From this grounded position here, where you're face down, feet away, if you tap up and hit a kick, but you can do while standing forward like this. You cannot do punch attacks while we're standing like this, but you can do the kick attacks.
Which is fantastic for Steve. Steve, for example, doesn't have kicks.
Perfect.
So
Fantastic.
all Steve can do in that position, yeah, it's weird. But from this position only, if you tap up and then press 3 or 4, you could get your while standing attacks a lot quicker. But for Steve, he doesn't have while standing 3 or while standing 4, so he gets his weaves instead.
All right, so that's basically it, guys. That is our full system overview of Tekken 8. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Any closing thoughts, Mike?
Hopefully I see you guys in Tekken 8, man. We're gonna have a whole new generation of players, and very excited to see it.
Exactly, man. So make sure you guys give us a follow. You see Mike's socials down below. You see mine above. Also, if you guys want to support, go and subscribe to our Twitch channels. You know, hit up the YouTube memberships, whatever. And that's it. We will catch you guys next time. Have a good one. Peace. Yay.